Hey guys, Tightrope here. In this video I have collected a load of before and after footage to highlight the visual changes that arrived in the 1.40 patch codenamed Steel Shepherd. First off, the main menu has been redesigned and it looks so much better. Other menus have also been changed, like the settings menu, and say you go into a skirmish lobby and select a map there, it is a much more cohesive overall style to the menu system. It looks so much more professional. I believe there is only this theme currently, which is US Forces based, so it would be nice if there was one for each faction and it selected the one from whichever faction you played most recently, similar to the menus in COH3. Also, there are some distant war sounds playing in the background, which is initially cool for immersion, but if you are tabbed out of the game, sitting in queue for 5 minutes and want to be listening to something else during the wait, now it's not so cool, and unfortunately they are tied to the sound effects slider in the game. So if you wanted to turn them off for the queue, you'd have to turn them back on again once you got into game, which is quite inconvenient. A separate menu sound effects slider would be appreciated. In the game loading screen, the background is restyled and now you can see a preview of what map you're about to play on. One issue that I still have with the menu system is that when you quit a game, it kicks you out into the main menu instead of to the sub-menu of whatever you were last playing. Like if I was playing skirmish against the AI, I would like to exit to that menu instead of having to click a few extra times to get back there. When searching for an auto match game, once an opponent has been found, you can no longer dodge the match during the countdown before the game starts to load. While I agree with this change in principle, given there are no map vetoes at the moment, perhaps it could have stayed in till the vetoes were added. By the same token, I don't know how well the in-game report function works, and dodging could help you avoid being teamed up with team-killing griefers. The challenge system has been overhauled, making the challenges both less specific and require less playtime to complete, meaning you should earn merit much faster. A replay system has finally been added, and it has a few extra features beyond what the COH3 system had. I will do a separate in-depth video on this in the future. Here are some before and afters I made of the graphical changes. Relic have tweaked things like lighting, shadows, filters and fog. I also have more before and afters on different maps when demonstrating other changes throughout the rest of the video. And from these demos, I like the changes to the winter line the most. They also changed muzzle flashes when units such as tanks fire. They are much brighter overall and it stays light for longer. I feel the new brightness is just fine, but the tail end of the new muzzle flash needs to disappear earlier. Some other explosion effects have been changed too, such as mortars. On impact they kick up less of a smoke plume and the fiery explosion is more visible. Contrails that follow behind shells that are mid-air, like the Vesper in this demonstration, are now much more transparent. The unit card has changed. First off, the colour of the health bar is now duller. The circle with the model count has been pushed into the icon area, so it isn't taking up as much width, which is a good thing, but the font on the number is smaller, too small for my taste. In the global unit control area, unit icons used to start with loads of space between them, but as you filled up the area, the gaps between them would shrink. Now unit icons are slightly more compact right from the start. Perhaps this could allow for a more uniform feel throughout the match. They have also compacted how units appear inside troop transports, which I can appreciate because this does take up a lot of space, especially on the tactical map. But they have made some issues with this. They've moved the numbers down away from the health bars on the squads, and now you can see it's pretty much entirely covering up the vehicle's idle status indicator. So that's not ideal. It's not a huge problem, but not ideal. The minimap has changed. switching to a brown hue, looking less slapdash auto-generated and more cohesive with the game's theme. The sector icons have had a subtle restyling, and the lines separating the sectors have been smoothed out. No more ugly, jagged lines. Buildings are easier to spot on the map, and impassable terrain such as cliffs have had a restyle. I made an extensive video about the issues with the tactical map around 5 months ago, and now they have implemented a lot of my suggested changes. Already back in patch 1.30, they reduced the unit icon sizes, making the tactical map less cluttered. They made the black area underneath the unit icon completely opaque now, and combined with the minimap visual changes covered earlier, I think it is much easier to read now. In 1.40, they increased the tactical map size, so the edges of the map will reach the top and bottom of the screen if it is oriented that way. To help achieve this, they moved the north indicator inside of the map. Unit status indicators, such as prioritized vehicles, repairing, buffs and so on, no longer appear on the tactical map, which used to clutter it up and distorted your unit's positioning. It no longer matters which spawn you play from. Your units will always appear on top of the enemies now, which helps with unit preservation. Double left clicking on a garrisoned building now exits the tactical map at that point, as it should do. Though at the moment, clicking on the unit inside the garrison on the tactical map doesn't work properly. When it comes to the event alert system, you can see I've got infantry in danger. Click, snaps the camera there, but does not exit the tactical map. So clicking on the event log, will bring the camera across, but does not exit the tactical map. So that would still be a nice change. Clicking on the event logs, snaps the camera there, and exit the tactical map in one swoop. If I give a capture order on the minimap, you can see the sector flashes like 2 or 3 times. Quite helpful for just, a nice visual confirmation that your order actually went through. But not the same on the tactical map. Still, I give a capture order. And, sometimes these like audio cues don't play, especially if you're queuing up a bunch of capture orders really quickly. And sometimes it can lead to like input errors. You can do like a right click drag and not notice it as part of a queue, and then you run past it. So it would be nice to have some kind of visual confirmation still on the tactical map that when you give an order like this, that it's actually gone through. And unfortunately for the demo charge, the ugly detonate button still appears on the tactical map, which is very easy to accidentally set off since it only takes one left click to do so. When an ability is active, such as during a mortar barrage, before 1.40 there was only a faint flash effect on the ability as visual confirmation. This was hard to notice, and sometimes I would accidentally cancel an ability because I couldn't see that it was active. But now there is a much more prominent yellow-hued flash on the active ability, making it much easier to notice. When a squad gets suppressed, now the whole unit card flashes yellow. And when they get pinned, it switches to red and the pulses happen much faster. I think this is a nice effect and can make it easier to notice when a squad is being suppressed. But there was potential to do more. Perhaps the colour on the card could fill from the bottom as the amount of suppression rose, reaching the top when they get pinned. Or perhaps the speed of the pulses could be tied to the amount of suppression instead of just having 2 speeds. This would provide more information to the players about the suppression level. When you capture a point, now the flag starts in the bottom position and raises to the top when captured. The territory point icon has been redesigned, repositioned on top of the flagpole, and integrated with the capture timer around it, looking much more cohesive overall. Previously, every type of mine looked exactly the same, which made it tough to tell what was where, and given that you can sweep your own mines in COH3, meant I accidentally removed my own mines a couple times. Now the different mines have unique appearances, so you know exactly what is planted where at just a glance. Relic have also altered some sound effects. The most notable is they added an extra radio style filter on top of each faction's announcer.
Green light to reinforce nearby squads. Wilco, reinforce is required, Commander. Green light to reinforce nearby squads. Roger that. We won't reinforce without your word.
So as I have shown, there is a lot more that went into this 1.40 patch than just 2 new battle groups, and I'm hopeful that this will be a turning point for the game. The remaining big issues that need to be addressed as far as I'm concerned are the sound, the effects, the volume levels, the directionality, big improvements needed across the board in terms of sound, and then the small map pool. The Relic have said that community maps are coming soon, so that should address some of those issues. So let me know what you guys think about these changes in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to support the continued production of my work, I hope you consider coming on board as a Patreon backer.